Happy New Year 2024. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you again. Here we are. Hope your year is going well so far. Mine is, though, like much of the country, I've been snowed in for more than a week. Haven't really left the house except for short walks. But finally, things are melting, so getting back out into the world. I hope everyone's warm and safe and with power. Probably do have power if you're watching this. If you're watching it on your phone. But welcome, everybody. I've got a big list of questions that people have sent me before the stream that I'm going to get started on right away. And then I'll start answering questions from the chat. So if you think of anything you want to ask me, anything you want to hear more about, or anything you just want to share from your own journey that you'd like other people to know about, put it in that chat. And if you want to make sure your questions get answered next time, subscribe to my email list. You can find that in the link tree down below. And send me a reply when I announce these live streams, and I'll put it in this document to answer first. Welcome, Isaac. Glad you love the channel. First question. Hey, Noah. It's been more than 90 days. I don't see any improvement at all, almost like it's gotten worse. Maybe I'm in a flatline. I'm also starting to think it's all in my head, and that by convincing myself I have a problem, I'm making it worse. Another fear that I have is that since I haven't had an erection in 2 months, my penis has shrunk. Okay, so number one, it's been more than 90 days. You have not seen improvement yet. In fact, things seem to be getting worse. Perhaps you're in a flatline. I often tell people who ask me for a time projection of how this journey is going to go that most people see significant progress and positive changes in that first 90 days if they can stay porn free and porn substitute free and everything like that. But not everybody. There's nothing magical about that 90-day number, and pretty much everyone needs more than 90 days to experience full recovery and get to that point where they're at a new normal. And most people need more than 90 days to experience the best benefits of recovery. And some people, like yourself, don't experience benefits within that first 90 days, but that does not mean that they're not coming. It's fairly common for guys to need longer than that, especially if they're in an extended flatline, to start seeing those benefits. And many of them do start to get inside their own heads and feed their own doubt and second guess themselves, thinking, well, is porn really a problem? I haven't experienced any benefits yet. It's been 3 months that I've been porn free. But while you can open yourself up to exploring other possibilities, like if you want to go to a therapist and talk to them, if you want to get a blood panel done and make sure you're not deficient in something, go ahead, do that. But none of that requires going back to porn. You know, even if you are having doubts and you want to explore, well, is there something else going on that's affecting my health or my mood or my libido? Go ahead and explore those things. But none of that means you have to go back to porn. You know, continue being porn free. Allow that process to continue, because it's still very likely, if you started this journey already and you concluded before that porn was the problem, was the cause of whatever issues you were having, that porn is probably still the cause of that. And going back, it may get you out of the flatline. You know, it may be potent enough of a stimulus to bring your sexual energy back, at least for porn, but it won't actually help you heal if what you're experiencing is a porn-induced effect of recovery. And yes, it often does get worse before it gets better. Hey, Noah. I'm on month 11 of NoFap. I went hard mode for 6 months. After 6 months, I had multiple attempts of rewiring. I was barely successful twice, but I used Cialis. I wasn't even aroused, really. It sent me back into a flatline, and 3 months later, last week, I had 2 failed attempts with someone I found very attractive. I had absolutely zero arousal response. I'm extremely frustrated, brother. I kept telling myself early on in this journey that all this hard work will pay off. It's almost a year into NoFap, and my PIED has not improved one bit. I don't have any spontaneous erections or any arousal around women. If I do, it feels forced. 26 and very healthy otherwise. Thanks for what you do. So I get these questions often enough from people who are distressed because they're in that category of long rebooters. They've been porn free for 6 months, 11 months, more than a year, and still haven't seen the bounce back in sexual performance that they were expecting and hoping for. That I do want to make a full video for the channel, specifically responding to people in this situation. Um, a fair number of the people who end up booking coaching with me are also in this situation because they're desperate enough for progress that they're willing to start paying some money and getting some personal advice. So I have worked with quite a few people who have been in this situation before, and I've seen a lot of them get through to the other side and end up healing. And often when I do speak with them, I can offer some advice for things that they can tweak on their approach to recovery that might help them get there sooner. It's a lot of it is just time away from porn, but that's not the only factor. Some of the other common factors are if someone is in a relationship, they might be trying to have sex and forcing themselves to have sex or perform or reach orgasm when it doesn't really feel natural or it doesn't feel easy. And if you're doing that, it's kind of like you're going on a run, frequently several times a week when your ankle is still healing from a bad sprain. It's normally a healthy activity, but when you are healing from an injury, it can actually delay the healing. And it's a similar process I have seen here, that if you are pushing yourself to sexually perform and or have a climax before your body is really ready for that, before it feels easy and natural, it can keep you in that pseudo flatline state. And one thing that I recommend for guys is to at least moderate or limit the number of climaxes or the frequency of climaxes they have. If they are going to have intimacy and sex, then moderate those climaxes. Use a more Carezza style approach to lovemaking. You can look that up more on your own time if you like. Karezza. It's an approach to sexual intimacy that abstains from orgasm. And it's not something that you have to commit to every time for the rest of your life, but it can be a useful tool during recovery so you can continue to enjoy sex while still moderating the number of orgasms you have if you find that orgasm itself sets you back or keeps you in that flat line. Otherwise, there are other ways to enjoy intimacy and enjoy your relationship, even if you are not ready to have sex at all, even if it's Carezza style sex. And if that's the case, you can still participate in the rewiring process without direct genital contact or penile contact if you feel like your body's not ready for that, or every time you do, it feels forced or it feels like it sets you back into a flat line. Of course, it takes being with an understanding partner to be able to create a dynamic like this that's healthy for your rewire, but that is something that is very possible. You can look up on my website or my channel, How to Tell Her About PIED is an article and video that you'll benefit from if this is a situation you are in. So for this particular individual who sent me this question, I have to speak kind of in vagaries here because I don't know all the specifics of your situation. But if you want to book a coaching session with me, it's possible that I'll be able to tell from asking you questions and getting a more complete vision of your story what you can tweak about your approach that might help. I think I never really had PIED this whole time. Maybe I was just convincing myself I had it. Do you think I can reintroduce masturbation in my life without porn or fantasizing? Will this slow down my recovery? I've been porn and masturbation free for 130 days now, and I think I'm seeing improvement. It's much easier to achieve an erection if I fantasize, but I cannot achieve one if I see a cute girl on Instagram. Before I thought I had PIED, I could. Okay. Well, this is another person who's like getting deep into the recovery process and second guessing themselves and doubting whether it is really PIED or not. And that's a natural thing to do, especially if you don't have the opportunity to rewire and actually practice real sex, because that can offer some reassurance that, like, oh, you can see and feel, yes, this is improving. This is much better than it was before when I was using porn. So if you don't have that, it's easy to get into your head and like think and like, try to check yourself, but without any real reference of actually having an intimate situation with someone you're attracted to. So my advice for that is just to stick to the facts that you know and focus on living your life as fully as you can while you're in this recovery journey. And spend enough time and energy thinking and planning to set yourself up for success, to keep yourself porn free, to allow yourself to know what your boundaries and guidelines are, and maybe set a time for when you want to start putting yourself out there socially more and dating again. But beyond that, try to focus your time and energy on other aspects of life. There's so much more to life than whether you are there's so much more to life than the recovery journey. And it's important to put as much time and energy into it as you need to make it a success. But more than that, you'll just end up causing yourself more stress and anxiety and second guessing yourself and making the journey feel longer than it has to feel. As for the improvement about being able to achieve an erection if you fantasize, that's a good sign. The disconnect of now seeing something on a screen could mean that you just are starting to dismantle that connection in your brain between a screen and arousal, and that's a good thing. And you should be grateful for that if that is the case. As for porn-free masturbation, as I talk about pretty frequently on this channel, it can be a healthy part of someone's life, even in recovery. I have a full video and article about that called Is Masturbation Healthy or Not? That you can search for on this channel or on my website. I'm going to answer a question from the stream chat now. First person to ask a question said, "Hello, Noah. 3 years ago, I cured myself of PIED by stopping PMO, but I went back to the old habit and I have PIED again to this day. I'm 26 years old and I'm about to complete 120 days, 4 months without PMO." We just talked about a 26-year-old. Is this the same person? "And I still can't maintain an erection with touch alone. I still have no libido. Is it possible to cure PIED again? I'd like to hear from you about this." So you've seen before, you were able to heal from PIED. So it was clear that PIED was the thing that was holding you back from being able to enjoy sex. And now, unfortunately, you went back to porn and redeveloped PIED. And I'll use your story as a warning to others. It is easier to redevelop PIED than it was to develop it in the first place. You can bring it back much more quickly than it developed the first time around. That's just an unfortunate fact of life and the brain. It's like, in a positive way, the person who learned how to ride a bicycle when they were 5 but hasn't ridden one in 20 years is going to pick it up much faster than the other 25-year-old who has never ridden a bicycle at all. Our brain holds on to those experiences and holds on to those things that we've learned before in case we need it again. It will kind of atrophy a bit and fade, but it's always going to be easier to bring something back into the present in your brain if it was a part of your past than it is going to be to form it for the first time. Same thing with language. Like if you used to be pretty fluent in a second language, but you haven't spoken it in years, it's still going to be way easier for you to pick that up a second time than it will be for someone else to learn it for the first time. But you're 120 days in. Maybe you saw a lot more progress the first time around, the first 120 days, than you are now. This is unfortunately normal as well. It's quicker to bring back the problems, but it's actually slower to heal yourself of the problems when you stop. If you've gone back again after a period of time, porn-free and healed. As you've heard me speak about before, I think you saw that video I made on intermittent use. I don't remember the title of it, but search my website and you'll probably find it. Intermittent use. It's a process in which you are actually, at its most basic, telling your brain, don't let go of your conditioning and wiring to porn because it's going to come back. I'm going to reintroduce it into my life. Even if I'm a year porn-free, porn is still going to come back because that's what happened last time, and maybe the time before that, and the time before that. So your brain is slower to let go of that conditioning to porn and rewire itself to healthy intimacy. But that does not mean that it's impossible. You can still absolutely heal again as long as there's nothing other, no other physical malady happening that I am not aware of from your message. The other day, I was searching on how to please a woman during intercourse, and let's just say that the explanations were a bit specific. While I was reading, I accidentally made a movement with my pants and came. Shall I consider this a relapse? The should I consider this a relapse question is one I get more often than almost any other. And it's not a question I like to answer because it really should be up to you to set those boundaries for yourself. And you need to be honest with yourself about what a relapse really is. But even a relapse doesn't mean that you're back to square one, that you're back to zero, that you need to rebuild the entire tower of your recovery from the first brick. A binge or like a period of weeks or months using porn can do that. But a single relapse, even though you might set your counter back to zero, doesn't mean that you're back at nothing. And that's something that you should definitely understand before you put too much of your pride or like wrap too much of your self-respect up in your street counter. Really, if the street counter is serving you, it should be inspiring you. Once it's dragging you down or making you feel bad about yourself, switch to a different system. Use a calendar or a spreadsheet system to track yourself. And that way you can see like, okay, yeah, I relapsed yesterday, but the last 2 months I didn't relapse at all. And there's all those clear days, all those clear boxes on my spreadsheet. And that's worth fighting for to maintain and not clutter that calendar or spreadsheet with more relapses. But whether or not you should consider this a relapse, I mean, I would probably consider it at least a slip because you were engaging with material on a screen that was arousing to you, and you probably noticed that it was arousing you before you actually climaxed. So you probably had opportunity to stop or to like go outside, take a walk, take a breather or something and calm down. But don't get too caught up in this, understand what happened, learn from what happened, understand, okay, I probably can't handle looking up anything about sex online, and just move forward in your recovery. Similar question, similar answer. Noah, I think I relapsed today. I was watching TikTok and I've been finding many book pages with sex stories in them. I read about 11 pages in total. I've seen them only today, and I'll stop myself from searching them tomorrow. Did this throw away all my 140 days of progress? Again, no. It's okay. Here's the metaphor that I often use with my clients. It's like your destination is to the east, right? There's that magical paradise of new normal, porn-free life, where you're free to, pursue your passions and form real relationships and have an amazing sex life. And you're walking there. It's many miles to get there. It's going to take you quite a while, maybe weeks or months or even a year to walk there. But every day you wake up and you keep walking east. A relapse is like they're getting in someone's van and they drive you back west. You're moving west a lot faster than you were walking east. But if you get out of that van soon enough, you're still not back at square one. You're still not back where you started. Yeah, you're set back maybe more than a few days, but you're not back to square one if you've been walking for 140 days east. Riding for an hour in a van west isn't going to bring you back to zero, but it's going to set you back. But that's why the sooner you can get out of that van and start walking east again, the better off you'll be. Hey Noah, how are you? I'm getting images of porn and porn substitutes continuously. What should I do? How should I control it? These flashes and images may increase over time. How do I handle it? So it sounds like you're dealing with intrusive thoughts. Images or memories of porn, maybe, or fantasies, or continue to intrude upon your thoughts and your peace of mind. Now, this is where the practice of mindfulness should come in. If you don't have a good understanding of mindfulness yet, there's all sorts of resources that you can use to learn a little bit about mindfulness, including a couple of videos on my own channel. You can search for mindfulness on my channel. Mindfulness is a practice that will give you that skill of being able to recognize these thoughts when they come into your head, but not get swept away by them. And there are a couple of ways that you could get swept away by them. You could get swept away into indulging in these fantasies, indulging in these thoughts, maybe starting to get aroused, starting to touch yourself, starting to go down that path of watching porn again. But you could also get swept up in it by getting like angry at it, getting frustrated by all these thoughts and letting it intrude on your peace of mind and the peace of your life. But with the skill of mindfulness, you're able to recognize when those thoughts happen, but not let them sweep you away into any particular emotion. Just be like, oh, that's interesting. I'm having these thoughts again. And then either just observe them from an emotionally detached distance until they disappear, or mindfully just choose to focus on something else. But you don't need to push those thoughts away or whip yourself for having those thoughts. Just gently refocus yourself on something else. Maybe go to another room, have a conversation with somebody, make a sandwich, splash some cold water on your face, go outside, go back to reading a book that's really interesting to you. Just gently nudge your focus back to something else without judging yourself, without being angry that those thoughts have surfaced again. And the more you do this without getting emotionally swept up in it, whatever those emotions are, the less power these thoughts will have over you. And they might never go away completely. And sometimes you like I said before, masturbation with fantasy can be a healthy part of someone's life. And maybe you choose to indulge in those fantasies, indulge in those thoughts sometimes. Hopefully, they'll be less porn inspired or porn based and more realistic. But it doesn't mean that you need to be completely sexual fantasy free or sexual thought free to be successful along this journey. But the skill of being able to keep those fantasies in their own place, like there's a time and a place for those, that I can indulge in those if I choose to. But most of the time is not the time or the place for that. It's the time or the place for work or for doing chores or for cooking dinner or for being at the gym and exercising and not ogling the other people at the gym. So having that skill of mindfulness can help you so much, not only on this journey, but in any aspect of your life. Hey, Noah. I'm on day 113 without porn, but I masturbated probably 10 times during this period of time. I don't see any benefits whatsoever. But what do you think? How many days or months did I lose by masturbating during this period of time? Also, can you explain what if I use the internet and social media for many hours every day? Does it hold me back? So I don't know what benefits you're trying to gain. If I did, I might be able to give you a more specific answer. But I can say that if you're like most of my clients, being porn free, even if you are still masturbating, is a good thing. But if there are specific benefits that you're hoping to gain, maybe like recovering from a porn induced sexual dysfunction or having more mental clarity, then definitely experiment with being masturbation free as well. It doesn't mean that the last 3 or 4 months were a mistake, that you kept masturbating. It's all part of the experiment of learning about yourself and your own body and what you need in order to feel your best and live your best life. So, yeah, maybe set out the next 30 or 60 days to be totally masturbation free as well and see how that makes you feel. And if you decide to reintroduce masturbation at some point, just start slow. Start with 1 or 2 times a month, see how that makes you feel, and make these small adjustments over time. And keep a log, like keep a journal or a spreadsheet so you can get to know yourself better and get to know how you feel best on your recovery and how you can get and maintain whatever those benefits are that you're searching for. I'm going to answer a couple questions from the chat now. Hey, how you doing, Adoniel? Tween says, I'm fostering a dog who is with me all the time. Since looking after her, I haven't relapsed, 16 days. Sounds strange, but I feel accountable to her and don't want to make myself worse. That's great. Yeah, I mean, it's not like a magical cure to the addiction, but having a pet to take care of can be definitely helpful. It can give you, someone to focus your love on. You get some of those good good feelings and good brain chemicals from, petting your pet and just having that loving physical contact. Um, and also, when you're not used to it, it feels weird to start watching porn or masturbating while someone is watching you, even if that someone is not human. So that can be an extra little incentive to not consider it an option as well. Like I said, it's not a single thing that will just make you never use porn again, but it can be helpful, and I'm glad you're experiencing that, and I'm glad that you adopted or you're fostering. You said, well, maybe adopting a pet is your next step. One question, says Isaac. I'm 28 and I have PIED, but I'm not addicted to porn because once I stopped watching porn, I never came back. I stopped watching porn on October 24th and never had urges to come back. I went 1 month without masturbating, without porn, and masturbated again a week ago. I still have PIED. Do you think I should quit masturbating without porn too? And what can I do to rewire? Should I get a girlfriend and try teasing at least? All right, well, first, it's totally possible to have developed PIED without being addicted to porn. There's a Venn diagram here, and the middle part of that Venn diagram is pretty big, to be honest. The part of that Venn diagram that includes people who have both sexual dysfunction and addiction to porn. But the other, independent sides of those circles also exist. You can be addicted to porn but have no sexual dysfunction, and you can have the sexual dysfunction without being addicted. And that's something to be grateful for, that at least you're not stuck in that cycle of relapse. You will, it sounds like you've quit in October, so it's been 2 or 3 months. There's still plenty of time left to experience benefits. Be patient with the process. As for whether or not to masturbate during this time, like I talked about earlier, it's up to you. It's up to you to experiment with that. If you notice, it's been 3, 4 months and I'm not experiencing the benefits I want to, and I have been masturbating, then try something different. Try not masturbating at all for a month or two. See how that affects you. Hi, Noah. Your thoughts on people who say semen retention is spiritual? Not only do they say there's physical benefits to an extent, but they also say that ancient cultures practiced this and got enlightened. Um, I don't have a lot of opinions or knowledge about that. I think that any experience of life can become a spiritual one, especially ones that are difficult or challenging. They can cause us to have all sorts of realizations about ourselves and the nature of reality, the nature of life. And having, abstaining from climax and retaining semen can be one of those things. Have I seen evidence yet that the very act of retaining your semen is going to have extensive physical or spiritual benefits? I'm unconvinced. I think certainly for some people, their sensitivity to climax is greater than others, and they might experience after effects from that, or they might have like an orgasm hangover. And many people do find that having fewer orgasms or practicing a more Carezza style lovemaking with their partner has benefits that they enjoy and they want to hold on to. But like if I'm imagining something gruesome here, like without the climax, without anything sexual, just like putting a needle in and extracting the semen, like would that have a negative effect on your spirituality? I don't know. I'm unconvinced. Going through an extremely difficult time personally, and I ended up relapsing today. I'm glad you're online. I really need help. Good. I'm glad you're here. And being in a live stream like this, it's a good first baby step to opening yourself up to help and guidance. But it's not the end all be all. I do recommend for most anybody who's watching this live stream right now or later after it's been recorded that you consider joining the support and discussion group that I run. You can learn all about that. There's a link in the link tree down below. It's run through Patreon. You pay through Patreon. It's $40 US a month. And we have our private Discord server where we have 3 official meetings every week. And there's a couple of unofficial meetings that happen too that the guys just, they want to meet more often. So I'm not present for those, but there's a lot of meetings that are happening consistently every week. And most people come to 1 or 2 a week. And it's a chance to just talk about this journey face to face, so to speak. You can look in each other's eyes. You can talk to real people about what you're going through. You can hear from other people who are going through similar things. You can form friendships and accountability partnerships that persist and flourish outside of these group meetings. And it can be just a wonderful boon to your recovery to be a part of a team, all working towards similar goals rather than just going it alone. And it can make you feel relieved of the burden of having to live this secret life of recovery all your own if no one else in your life knows what you're going through. Can you still get erections and can you still get aroused when you were in a flatline? If you feel that your libido is lower after quitting porn, is this 100% a flatline? I lost my libido since I quit porn 113 days ago. Thank you. Uh, so you might be able to force an erection when you're in a flatline, but if it's a true flatline, it should be at least very difficult to become aroused. Other than that, like it's perfectly possible to not be in a flatline but still be experiencing lower libido during recovery. And when I was recovering myself, I thought, in the first 6 months that maybe I've been in a flatline. But then once I actually ended up experiencing a flatline that lasted for about a month, I realized like, oh, this is the flatline. Those other periods were just periods of low libido. So it was easy for me to see that distinction once I actually experienced the flatline. Maybe the same will be true for you. How do you build up the motivation once it's been depleted and you fall back into a habit, even if the relapses are far fewer and less frequent? Motivation is this mysterious, mystical, magical force. Sometimes it's there and it feels wonderful and you're disciplined and you're going after whatever your goals are. And sometimes it just disappears or maybe it and slowly drained out such that you didn't even notice it was disappearing until it's gone. And then you wonder, how can I get this magic back? And there are ways that you can learn to understand motivation and have some leverage of control over motivation. But it's more practical, I think, to focus on other things, to focus on what you have more control over, on building habits, on building disciplines, on saying, no matter how I feel, every day I do this. Maybe that's just doing some stretches and some basic exercises, or maybe it's looking at yourself in the mirror and saying like it's going to be a great day today. Whatever it is for you, it can start small, but by choosing to do things like that are probably going to be good for you, no matter how you feel, you give yourself a chance to allow motivation to catch up with you. If you go to the gym, even though you don't feel like it, once you're actually doing a set, you're feeling that pump, you might start to feel that magic of motivation come back. There's a book that I want to recommend to each and every one of you that, I've read a lot of self-help books and self-development books and books on understanding human behavior. And this is definitely one of my top three. It's called Tiny Habits by B.J. Fogg, who is a Stanford professor and a behavioral scientist. And he, in this book, gives you many, many practical tips for how to actually effectively build healthy new habits and deconstruct the old ones that are holding you back. And this book, if you commit to using the wisdom inside of it, I think it will give you a lot more leverage, a lot more power over your experience of motivation as well. How can I really make sure that porn is causing my ED? There may be other reasons as well. Thanks. Yeah, there may be other reasons, and there are certainly, you can go to your urologist or your doctor and ask for tests. There are tests that they can do. They can do a nocturnal penile tumescence test, which is like a sleep test where they test if you are getting erections during the night, as men should every single night when they sleep. And that's a measure of whether there's something physical going on, because if you're not getting erections in the night while you're sleeping, that's an indication that there might be something physical, something wrong with the blood flow. There are other tests as well. There is a Doppler ultrasound where they can induce an erection and do an ultrasound on your penis and like see the blood vessels and see if there's anything going on. There are other tests that they can do as well. But the most simple question that you can ask yourself that is not like 100% accurate, but it can give you a good idea is, well, can I still get arousal and a full erection to porn, even though I can't do it for a real partner or even for porn-free masturbation? And if that's the case, then the most likely explanation is there's nothing physical wrong with you. It's the porn. It's the chronic use of pornography and the desensitization and the conditioning to porn that's holding you back from experiencing full erections and full arousal with real partners. Now, it is totally possible to have porn-induced ED to the point where it's a struggle to even maintain an erection for porn anymore. That doesn't necessarily mean that there is something physical going on. It could just be severe PIED. But it is also possible at that point that there is something physical going on as well. Especially if you like can't remember the last time you had 100% full erection, it's been a long time, then it is something I recommend that you go get checked out and tested by a doctor or urologist. Hello, Noah. I have now 8 months completed in my no-fap journey. My first no-fap journey was 2 years. After that, I saw harsh porn, and now I'm on 8 months. Recovery in that 2 years was very fast, but this is like hell. I know that this is an effect of intermittent porn use. Can I be normal again? Yes. Just like the gentleman who I answered before talking about intermittent use, once you have healed and then you go back, the healing process is often slower the second time around, and even slower the third time around. And that's not a cycle that you want to get in because it's like, okay, it gets faster and faster to do the damage and to regain the sexual dysfunction, but it gets slower and slower to undo the damage and to heal. And so it's definitely something that you want to be aware of so that you can, once you are porn free, just stay that way and maintain mindfulness and stave off complacency so that you don't, after you're healed, think, oh, it's not a big deal to use porn again for a while, because it can be a big deal. And it can be something that you'll be working to reverse for many months after that. So it doesn't mean you can't heal again. If there's nothing else going on, if it is porn induced, then you can definitely still heal, but it'll probably take longer than the first time around. Hey Noah, I've been following you for a few years now, since I've been struggling with compulsive PMO. My question is, I've been gathering all the resources about this addiction for a few years now, and I'm well aware of what's happened to me. Yet, I keep relapsing despite trying my best. The best years of my life are passing by, and I feel so powerless. Yeah, it's heartbreaking to feel your life slipping through your hands and saying like, I knew this was a problem 3 years ago. Why wasn't I able to solve it then? And that can be very shaming. It can make us feel like we're just not capable, we're not strong enough, we're not disciplined enough, we're not enough, period. My question to you is, you've been, it sounds like, doing a lot of reading, gathering resources, but are you taking new actions consistently? Are you opening yourself up to things that might be uncomfortable, but can actually help you move forward, like working with a coach or a therapist or joining a group like this support and discussion group that I run? Are you taking those uncomfortable, real action steps that will help make things different the next time rather than just gaining knowledge and hoping that that knowledge will give you more power to resist porn? All the knowledge in the world is not going to do you much good if you're not acting on that knowledge. My penis seems to have lost both girth and length, especially when in certain positions. This makes me hopeless, and I start to wonder what's the point of it if it won't go back to the way it was. Can you tell me if it gets better with time? And if so, then how long does it take? Can I do something to speed up the process or just need to sit and wait it out? Thank you for your time and effort. So I do hear from guys semi-regularly who have had this experience. And from working with them, I can say that it's most often just a fact of you're not yet getting and maintaining a full erection during intimacy. And so you might need more time. You might need to take it easier on the sex if you're, having sex with a partial erection. But most of the time, it is just that. Once you are back to your new normal, you're getting fully aroused and you're able to maintain a full erection for sex, that it just says the same size, just as big as it ever was. and it's not like there's some permanent shrinkage going on. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible that there is some permanent effect, but that would be unusual for someone whose sexual dysfunction was purely porn induced and doesn't have any other complicating physical factors. All right, back to the stream questions. Can sex help with the recovery journey somehow? It can help. It can also hurt, but it can definitely help. So let me break that down. It can help because that's actually an essential part of the process is rewiring. Rewiring is a lot more than just sex. You can rewire by going on dates, by holding hands, by having deep conversations with someone you're attracted to, someone you're getting to know, someone you're dating, by kissing, by massaging. They're all there's like every sort of real life intimate interaction with someone you're attracted to can be a part of the rewiring process. But sex is an essential part of that process too. And to really finish rewiring, you do need to be having sex with a real person in a healthy way. And doing that once you're ready for it with a partner, ideally who's aware and supportive of your recovery process, can be extremely helpful in many ways, not only to sexual dysfunction recovery, but perhaps to your addiction recovery as well. Once you start rewiring your brain to think and be drawn more toward real intimacy and real touch and real sex, it can help to move forward and close that chapter on porn use. However, having sex can also be harmful to your recovery if you're not ready for it, or maybe you're with a partner who you haven't been comfortable enough to talk to about this. You don't feel like there's really a clear understanding there. You feel like there are going to be consequences if you can't perform, or there's a lot of pressure there. If you're having sex under these circumstances, you can just start to associate all those negative feelings of anxiety and pressure and self blame and shame with sex more and more and more. And so instead of rewiring yourself to enjoy and look forward to intimacy and sex, you're wiring yourself to fear sex, which is not what you want. And it can also be harmful if your body is just not ready to be having sex or having orgasms, but you're kind of forcing it because you want it to be ready or because your partner wants to have sex more frequently than you feel like your body is ready for. And for that, you can reduce the frequency of sex. You can also practice a different approach to sex, Carezza, like I talked about earlier, where you abstain from orgasm at least some of the times that you have sex if you feel like your body is not ready for that frequency or intensity of sexual activity. What can I do to rewire? Should I get a girlfriend? Rewiring, as I just said, is an important part of the process. Whether you're ready to start dating and rewiring or not is really up to you. If you are still relapsing frequently, if you don't have any sort of foundation of sobriety, then I'd recommend focusing on that first before trying to rewire, because just having sex or rewiring is not going to heal your addiction. It's not going to make it suddenly easy to stay porn free. I see a lot of guys make this mistake. Maybe they'll think like, once I get married or once I am in a relationship and I'm having sex, it's going to be easy to stay porn free because I'll have a sexual outlet. But what they don't understand is that they're addicted to porn. And even though sex is wonderful and it's great and it's amazing, it's not a one-to-one replacement for porn. And they've become conditioned to what porn provides, which is unlimited access to novelty, complete control over the experience, don't need to worry about anyone else's feelings. You can just be completely selfish and focused on what you want. And you can access it whenever you want. It's all about you and your wants and your desires. And that's something that a real person in a healthy relationship is not going to provide. So it's totally possible to get into a relationship or start having sex while still being actively addicted to porn. So that as a warning. Is sleep important during recovery? Absolutely. Yeah, the body needs sleep and it needs good nutrition. It needs to be healthy. It needs to be fairly relaxed in order to heal. And we know how much damage to the immune system it does to be either chronically stressed or chronically sleep deprived. And it has that same effect on the body's ability to heal and the brain's ability to heal and rewire. So if you're, I mean, it's not going to stop you from recovering entirely, probably, if you have insomnia, but if it's at all possible, yeah, do focus on giving yourself the sleep that you need. Uh, hey man, love your work. I want to offer you sponsorship as a way to thank you. If you're interested, please tell me where to contact you. Not sure what that means, but you can go contact me at noah@coachchurch.com. That's my email address, and that goes for anybody. I can't promise to answer in detail questions that you send there, but I will at least save your questions for the next live stream and maybe point you to some resources that will help you. So noah@coachchurch.com is my email address. And by the way, just so it's clear, Church is my last name. It's not a religious thing. It truly is my last name. It is out of topic, but I want to thank you so much. The hypnotherapy is working. I'm on day 5. My energy, social interaction have completely changed since then. I've got the power to reject porn. That's great. Yeah, if you're wondering what he's talking about, I have a couple of videos on the channel that are guided hypnosis meditations for freeing your mind from the pull of porn and forging ahead strong into the porn-free life. Um, Guided meditation or hypnosis works better for some people than for others, but give it a shot and it might be a powerful and effective part of your recovery. It won't like just magically take away your addiction, but it can be very helpful for some people like you. I'm glad it's helping you. I noticed I'm excessively using social media instead of studying for my final exam. So someone else asked earlier, and I forgot to answer this part of their question about, using the internet or using social media or video games for hours each day. Is that going to hold me back from recovering? It probably won't hold you back from the sexual dysfunction recovery as long as what you're doing online is not sexual, but it can hold you back from experiencing some of the other benefits of recovery because you're still engaging in that dopamine cycle of seeking stimulation online, seeking that easy dopamine hit, rather than allowing yourself to completely resensitize to the experience of real life. So, as much as possible, I do recommend, keep your recreation off the screen. It doesn't need to be a completely hard line. Like you can still watch movies, especially with other people. You can still go on YouTube if it doesn't get out of control. But as much as possible, keep your recreation to off-screen activities. Go outside, play a sport, play a musical instrument. Be with friends, do something in the real world. Have you noticed a correlation between rebooting and disturbances in sleep cycles? I've been restless at night and have had trouble falling and staying asleep. Yes, this is pretty common. Insomnia can be a withdrawal symptom, especially if you had a pattern of masturbating to help you go to sleep. If you masturbated late at night and you went to sleep right after and you interrupt that pattern, it can be more difficult to fall and stay asleep. But even if you didn't have that pattern, it can be a withdrawal effect. It's not permanent. At least I hope not. In cases I've seen, it hasn't been permanent, but it can be distressing and it can make it harder to resist porn because when you're sleep deprived, you have less willpower, you have less control over yourself. So it does make it more difficult. It's not a situation I envy, but it is in all likelihood temporary. And there are other things that you can probably do to help yourself build healthier sleep habits. And you can look up more about that online. But things like being away from screens for at least an hour before you go to bed, um, timing your meals in whatever way works best for you, maybe winding down with a particular ritual that's not screen based, like reading a book or meditating or listening to some relaxing music or something like that. Just having a ritual, going to bed at roughly the same time each night, um, general basic sleep hygiene stuff like this. I may take one-on-one coaching with you next month, Noah. Great, I'm here. Anyone here can go to the link tree down below, find ways to work with me. I offer ways all over, different price points. My free price point is right here, answering questions for free on lives like this, about once a month. You can also, like, the next cheapest is joining that group that I told you about. That way you can interact with me as many as 3 times a week, and also with a lot of other guys, and have a lot of support, and not only have those video calls, but also text chats in between video calls that you can talk to me and talk to others through on our private Discord server. And then personal one-on-one coaching, the courses that I offer, the online comprehensive courses on recovery from sexual dysfunction and recovery from porn addiction, are also available. And yeah, and there's like a comprehensive program as well that includes like everything that, like, for one lump sum that gives you lifetime access to all this stuff. So different price points to gain help. I want everyone to have access to some level of help, but of course, I can't just offer everything for free and dedicate all my time to this, because I got bills to pay too. But yeah, my free PDF of my book and these live streams are the free ways to access help. And there's a lot of other free resources out there as well, many of which are on my website or on this channel. All right, I'm going to answer a few more questions and then end the stream for this month. If I didn't get to your question, if I missed your question, send it to me, to my email, noah@coachchurch.com. I'll put it on my list for next time. And subscribe to my email list as well, so you can get updates about when these lives happen. I promised myself that if I relapse, I will shave my eyebrows and head. After 18 days, I relapsed and I did it. Now I am bald and my face seems weird, but I think this punishment will keep me away from relapse again. Maybe it will, maybe it'll work, but it didn't seem to work this time. Like, you still relapsed even though you knew the consequences. I usually don't recommend pure punishment methods like this. If you do want to set up a consequence, what I recommend to people is that that consequence be something that is kind of scary, is uncomfortable, much like shaving your head and your eyebrows, but that if you do have to do it, actually moves you forward in recovery in a concrete way. So maybe that thing is, if I relapse again, I'm going to finally open up to my brother about what I'm going through. I'm nervous about it. It's an uncomfortable conversation. I don't want to have it, but it probably will help if I have someone in my personal life, in my family, who knows what I'm really going through. So if I relapse again, I'll do it. That can be a good consequence to set up for yourself. Or if I relapse again, fine, I'll start paying for that accountability software, and I'll install it on all my devices, and I'll recruit someone to be my accountability partner. Or if I relapse again, then fine, I'll join Noah's support group for $40 a month, and I'll start going to meetings. Something like that. What if I can't rewire? I mean, if rewiring isn't available. So that's a common situation as well. It doesn't mean that you can't heal at all. You can still do a lot of healing just by rebooting, just by being porn free, by focusing on the non-sexual aspects of your life. But once you do have that access, once you do get into a relationship or you do get married, you'll still have some work to do to complete that recovery process. And that's okay. That's fine. And if you don't feel like you can talk to your new partner about that, you can just say, like, hey, like, you can give her part of the truth, which is that, okay, I don't have much sexual experience or any sexual experience. It might, like, I feel nervous about it. It might take me some time to get used to it and to get good at it, like, for my body and my brain to get used to this sort of contact with somebody. And that's a perfectly understandable thing, even if you don't mention the porn use, the past sexual dysfunction because of the porn use. Just ordered Tiny Habits from Amazon. It's on sale in the US right now. Thanks for the rec. Great. Thanks for telling us it's on sale. It's very much worth the price point. I'm sure it's like $5 or $10. Definitely get that book. It's an audiobook as well if you prefer to listen. Thanks for the monthly streams. They've helped me a lot. Question: is having a partner crucial for recovery, or can I do it single? Like I just said, not crucial. You can definitely be porn free. You can experience a lot of the benefits just being porn free, rebooting, being single, not rewiring. But if you want to complete the recovery from the sexual dysfunction, the rewiring is necessary. And you will have to do that when you eventually get into a relationship. All right, a couple more questions. Do Several people asked about like, do I need to rewire to heal? Do I need to have a girlfriend to be able to heal? Yeah, I already answered that one. Hi, Noah. Is it limiting and a plan bound to fail when you make quitting PMO your main target? I've been tracking and trying to quit for 15 plus years, but I'm still not clean. When I quit dipping tobacco, I didn't journal about it, etc. But again, PMO is a different issue than that addiction was. However, I was quite addicted to it for 3 years. It was fear of cancer and yellow teeth that moved the needle and led me to get it out of my life. It wasn't my inherent dignity that made me quit. Is it bad to use fear as a driving force? Uh, Fear can be an effective motivator in the short term, but long term, it's not. It probably won't keep you on the path, and even if it does, it's not a very enjoyable way to live, being driven by fear all the time. You want to be driven by purpose and love and desire for like move toward the beautiful rather than moving away from the ugly or the painful. And that fear can still be a part of your motivation, but relying on it solely is probably a recipe for failure. Uh, as for your approach to quitting porn, it sounds like you've been trying to quit for a long time, 15 plus years, but you're still not clean. So it's definitely time to try different approaches. And that doesn't mean that you just indulge in porn as much as you want, but it might be time to move your main focus to something else. And this is something that is a common need for people I work with, is to focus more, at least for now, on perhaps building up other parts of your life and filling up your life in other ways, satisfying your real needs that maybe when they go unsatisfied ends up being a trigger for porn. Maybe it's time to focus more on filling up your life with purpose or figuring out your next career move. Maybe it's time to focus on your physical health, taking care of yourself with good diet and good exercise habits. Maybe it's time to focus on widening your social circle or introducing new relationships into your life and just like filling up your life with all these good, healthy, engaging, stimulating, healthy things. And then once you have a more firm foundation of a life that you enjoy living, perhaps you'll find that stopping the PMO is easier. And that's where I'm going to end it for today. If I missed your question, again, email me, noah@coachchurch.com. I'll put it on the list for next time. Check out the links in that link tree in the description down below for a lot more resources to help you quit. And again, highly, highly recommend joining that support and discussion group. You'll have a lot more engagement, be an active participant rather than just typing questions on the keyboard. You'll have a lot more regular contact with me and other guys who are all focused on reaching the porn-free life and accruing all the benefits that involves. Have a wonderful porn-free month and year in this 2024, and I will see you guys in the next stream, if not sooner, in the group.